welcome to the latest in my series, The Underlooked Bands. Now, despite at least one major and enduring international hit and a large amount of British success, Tencc are somewhat unknown by today's music lovers and don't get anything like the attention and respect I believe they deserve. They were the first band I ever saw live, albeit in a later iteration, and they have always been one of my favourite bands and a huge influence in my musical tastes. There was an uptick in interest in Tencc because of the inclusion of that huge hit, I'm Not In Love, on the Guardians of the Galaxy movie and soundtrack, and indeed this one amazing song is the one they are generally known for. But more of that wonderful slice of audio genius later. But this talented and inventive band had many more strings to their bow and deserve much more respect. So today I'm going to be covering the period of the band which included the original four members, Lol Cream, Kevin Godley, Graham Gouldman and Eric Stewart. And what a formidable lineup they were. 4 lead singers, 4 songwriters, 4 multi-instrumentalists, 4 producers, and in Eric Stewart, a world-class studio engineer and seriously underrated lead guitarist. Listen to Stewart's guitar work on tracks like Feel the Benefit, How Dare You, Headroom, or I'm Mandy Fly Me for examples of that. The foursome brought a ton of previous experience and the distinct advantage of owning their own studio, Strawberry Studios, which is a scenario that most bands would envy. All 4 were veterans of the Manchester music scene. Godley and Cream had been in several Manchester bands, as well as being songwriters and session playing guns for hire for various record labels. Eric Stewart had tasted success with the Mindbenders and had sung lead on their huge international hit, A Groovy Kind of Love. And Graham Gouldman had written multiple hits for the Yardbirds, the Hollies, Herman's Hermits, and others. All had either known each other as kids or been in bands together, and Stewart and Cream were even related by marriage. Now, gradually, as the 60s migrated into the 70s, the foursome ended up working on sessions together at Strawberry Studios, and after an abortive attempt at a band of their own in Hot Legs, who had a big hit with a song called Neanderthal Man, the foursome finally settled on becoming Tencc in 1972. This lineup released 4 albums between 1972 and 1976, and to me these are some of the most inventive and accomplished albums by any British band ever. They combined witty and satirical lyrics with catchy pop, speedy power pop, progressive art pop and rock, beautiful ballads, bubblegum, Americana, 50s rock and roll pastiches in the style of Frank Zappa. In fact, they could pretty much turn their hand to everything. And their song subjects ranged from incontinent hospital patients, Middle East gunrunning, jailhouse riots, fantasy air hostesses, wannabe Charles Atlases, megalomaniac toddlers. You name it, they could write about it. Their debut album, imaginatively entitled Tencc, was chock full of this wizardry. And they got off to a good start in the UK with a top 10 hit single courtesy of one of those 1950s pop pastiches, Donna, sung by Lol Cream in a bravado falsetto. The follow-up single, Johnny Don't Do It, continued the 50s theme with a spoof teenage motorcycle Dead Man's Curved Tail. Now this is one of my personal favourite tracks, mixing falsetto doo-wop with a monstrous slab of fuzz guitar in the middle 8, and it's just mad fun. Another big UK hit soon came, though, with the infectious driving rhythm of Rubber Bullets, which imagines what happens when the prison guards decide to shut down Elvis's Jailhouse Rock. And at the time of the Troubles in Northern Ireland, the chorus refrain of load up, load up, load up with rubber bullets caused a bit of a stir and even got them a BBC ban, but the single still got to number 2 in the UK. And I love Eric Stewart's guitar solo at the end of the track on the extended album version. Other highlights for me are the bluesy slide guitar driven rocker Ships Don't Disappear in the Night, the very catchy pop hit The Dean and I, another rocker in Headline Hustler, a song about a sleazy journalist. That's a bit of a redundancy there. And the Zappa-esque dynamic tension about a weedy nerd and a Charles Atlas advert. Now, the album culminates with the gorgeous, shimmering ballad in Fresh Air for My Mama, with the drummer Kevin Godley providing a beautiful vocal, like a bluesier version of Art Garfunkel. So, on to the second album, Sheet Music, which built upon the model of the first album and saw also, though, the development of a more distinctive identity for the band with less pastiche and more of their own style. The album opener and top 10 UK single, The Wall Street Shuffle, one of my favourite tracks, opens with a glorious slab of distorted guitar, a monster riff. And lyrically, it fillets the titans of Wall Street with a very catchy tune. Glorious stuff, and definitely a style that was very Tencc. Through the album, the band mercilessly mock themselves and the pop business that they're in, with tracks like The Worst Band in the World and the rough guitar-driven Silly Love. Predicting the eventual aging of vibrant young rock stars is beautifully and surprisingly tenderly done in Old Wild Men. And Clockwork Creep is the bonkers tale told by a bomb and the plane it is on. There's also the bluesy rocker O Effendi, satirising gun-running gods of war and their Middle Eastern customers. And another standout for me is the achingly beautiful and sad Somewhere in Hollywood, which is again sung perfectly by Kevin Godley, a truly underlooked singer and possibly one of the best singing drummers ever. It is an absolutely standout pop rock album, but there was even more progress to come. So with a big new deal with Phonogram and new cover art from Hypnosis, 1975's The Original soundtrack marked a more progressive turn from the band. There was less of a rock focus, apart from the hard-driving Second Sitting for the Last Supper, which became a live favourite, and the sleazy tale covered on the song Blackmail. The album had a more experimental feel and some really outstanding studio work, particularly on the amazing use of multi-layered backing vocals, painstakingly put together. If you want a comparison from another band, it would be Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, that kind of multi-layering, which Tencc also at the same time period excelled in. Now, these progressive tendencies were very apparent on the absolutely bonkers opening track, Une Nuit à Paris, which is a three-part operetta, more Jacques Brel than Jimi Hendrix, and unlike anything I'd heard before as a tender youth in 1975. It's a tale of late 19th century Parisian bordellos sung in cod French accents and with nary an electric guitar in sight. There was also other things in there, like the straight-ahead pop of Life is a Minestrone, which was something closest to something that would have appeared on one of their two earlier albums, and that did give them a UK hit. Flying Junk, Brand New Day, and The Film of My Love were all okay tracks, and all very individual, but the standout track on the album is the one they will rightly be remembered for through history, which is the sumptuous I'm Not in Love. An entire video could be made by me and has been made by many other people about just how good I'm Not in Love is. From the shimmering, hypnotic backing vocals to the love song masquerading as not a love song lyric. For example, I keep your picture on my wall. It hides a nasty stain that's lying there. The protagonist professes his indifference, a touch too much, methinks. This track is an incredible production with a beautiful lead vocal from Eric Stewart, and it dominated the airwaves in the hot summer of 1975. Listen to this song on headphones, which I would recommend, and you can hear the full stunning effect of the ethereal multi-tracked vocals standing in for orchestra and synthesizers. It's a rightful pop classic and one of my favourite songs of all time. So, following the original soundtrack, we moved on to the final album by this original foursome, 1976's How Dare You? How Dare You? One of my top 10 favourite albums of all time by any artist, this album. And for me, it was their most well-rounded album, with a full-bodied production sound and no filler in sight. Subject matter again varied, covering divorce, megalomania, schizophrenia, art versus money, and even putting the kids to bed. So the opening instrumental, How Dare You, is a fantastic slab of massed acoustic and electric guitars with some of Stewart's great guitar licks. And then segues into the warm, languid and sumptuous Lazy Ways, which has a great bass line, beautiful bass line, and that amazing backing vocals, layered backing vocals. Then I Wanna Rule the World is a quirky tale of a put-upon infant who dreams of growing up as a global dictator. Another sumptuous sonic slab comes in the form of the hit single I'm Mandy, Fly Me, and this is sort of a sequel to the first album's Clockwork Creep, the tale of a bomb on a plane. This time the tale follows a passenger on that plane and his miraculous rescue by a fantasy air hostess from a poster. And there's again some great guitar interlinked guitars on this and a fantastic hook. The last track on side one is Iceberg, which is a jazzy tale of madness, again very different from anything else they'd done. Now side two kicks off with another world-class single and favourite track of mine, Art for Art's Sake, with a shimmering guitar intro building up to a super catchy riff and a rock-solid beat. And it explores the tension between making art and the necessity of making a buck. You know, art for art's sake, money for God's sake. I just absolutely love that line. Then Rock and Roll Lullaby, it's kind of the bluesiest track in the band's canon, with some great steel guitar and an almost barrel house feel to it, and a sing-along ending on top of some of, again, Stewart's great lead guitar work. Headroom's Tale of Adolescent Longing is a jazzy country blues romp with some very pretty slide guitar. But the closing track, and the last track on any album by the original foursome, is Don't Hang Up, and that features another beautiful Kevin Godley vocal on a haunting tale of divorce. And that was it for the original lineup of Tencc. Artistic differences led to the band splitting up into two pieces, with Stewart and Gulman retaining the name, and they soldiered on for a few years with some initial success, including big hit Dreadlock Holiday, until personal differences drove them apart too. Now, Godley and Cream made several experimental albums alongside having some pop hits, and they were kind of electropop pioneers too. And they became very innovative and sought after video directors in the early years of the music video boom. In fact, if you look up their history and or list of music videos, you'll see stuff in there about the Police, Duran Duran, many other influential music videos. And unfortunately, they too eventually succumbed to personal differences and split. Gulman has attempted to keep the band name alive on stage, and the inclusion of I'm Not in Love in Guardians of the Galaxy reminded people of who they were and how great they could be. But I feel their legacy has been largely forgotten, so I was very happy to make them one of my Underlooked bands. Well, thanks very much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, click the like button, watch and listen to some of my other videos. And until next time, remember to keep the house rockin'.